Hello and welcome to another episode of Casting Views, a podcast that takes a topic each week and, as the name suggests, casts views. This week is another Who's Coming to Dinner episode, so that means I've got another great podcaster with me to supply me with said dinner. And I'm really, really pleased to say that this week I've got Slade from the Game Club pod. So, hi, Slade.
Hey, Dan. How are you?
I'm very good. All the better for having you. I mean, you're on your own. I mean, we kind of said we could do without the two blokes from Blighty this week, didn't we? So,
Well, they always get to go off to their own little club, and I'm not invited to it, so it's fine.
yeah, so we made this one special by having you. So you're repping the Game Club pod this week.
Right.
Yeah, and how are you doing? So, I mean, at time recording, this isn't going to go out for a while, but yeah, we were talking beforehand that yeah, you're feeling the cold a bit right now, aren't you?
It's freezing. I'm not a fan. I live in the South. That's supposed to be like warm and feel like a sauna all the time, and suddenly I got put in a freezer, and I'm just not here for it. Because, Dan, do you feel the way I do that the wind shouldn't hurt my face? It should feel nice and refreshing. But when it's cold and that, 30, 40 mile an hour wind hits you, it's just painful.
That's exactly, you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, I love a cold, crisp day. I love it if the sky's blue. I do like going out for a walk, but yeah, it's the wind. It's a wind that just rips. It feels like it's ripping your face raw, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
I'm gonna have to probably do a quick conversion here. Was on holiday a little while ago. We'd sort of do a couple of winter ones. Oh, so it was 14 Fahrenheit.
No, I'm not going out of the house. I'm not leaving the house.
But it was fine. We spent like 8 hours walking out in it, and it was fine because you go prepared when you're going to these places. So we've got the big coats, the layers. The
Right.
layers is important, but it's the you don't want to cover your face and yeah, it's that wind. It's that wind. It's just yeah. We need to work out what we can do for that.
No, some kind of face shield to block wind. That's what we need, Dan. That's what we're going to work
Yeah.
on today. We're going to work on designing that so we can go outside in the cold when it's miserable and the wind not hurt our face.
Well, there you go. You give me another idea. Yeah, we'll get podcasters on with a problem that we're going to then solutionize in that. But yeah, we didn't get you on here to talk about the cold weather. So we are, and do you know what? The main bulk of this we'll get to later. I want to talk a little bit more about yourself and the podcast. So as mentioned, you are one of the three hosts of the Game Club pod. I guess the first question is, why do you podcast?
That's a familiar sounding question.
Yeah. It's a warm-up one. You're feeling cold. We said we've got the cold. This is a warm-up question.
There it is. It's a warm-up question to get me into the spirit of this. Why do I podcast? Well, it kind of goes back to the origin story. I was streaming a bunch on Twitch. I was friends with Tim already, and Joey was like a regular, and he had the idea for the podcast. I was like, yeah, we could do it for a couple episodes, see how it goes. And now we're on year 3 of the Game Club. So 3 years of, or almost, I think May will be 3 years, but we've been reviewing, one game every 2 weeks.
So I was going to ask you, so you knew Joey first, did you say?
No, I knew Tim first.
Oh,
so Tim and I were in a Discord a long time ago. The videos are still out there. You can probably find it. The channel was called Log On, and we used to make like Let's Plays together where you play games, commentary over them. We used to do that while playing like Rainbow Six Siege, or somebody would be streaming. And then that kind of disbanded after a while, and everybody kind of went off to do their own thing. Tim started streaming speedrunning games. I think he got for like Mario Odyssey. I think he was like number 14 in England for like getting through it the fastest.
Wow.
That's an 8-hour game, and I think his time was like a minute 7. Or not a minute, an hour and 7 minutes. Yeah. And then he had I don't remember how far he got up in the world record lead of it. You can ask him for Untitled Goose Game.
Oh right, yeah.
But he had that game down to like 3 or 4 minutes to beat it. And it's just watching a different game at that point.
Yeah. There is something oddly mesmerizing about watching an expert at speedrunning, right?
Yeah, if you want to get into it, there's a YouTuber called Summoning Salt who does like kind of like analytical videos going over like the first record for a game, and then people breaking that record and who currently owns it and their strategies and things like that. Really interesting if you want to dive into it.
Because I've always wondered about how the three of you come together. It is. Well, I was going to say it's an odd mix, not being offensive, but in terms of having the two people over here in England and yourself over in the States, is it easy in terms of recording? Because I know I
No.
sometimes struggle with the time zones.
That's I always say that's our hardest part of recording is time zones.
Yeah.
There's 2 times a year for about a week where y'all will have daylight savings time first, and then
Yeah.
it'll happen like the next week for me, and then we're out of sync by either 5 hours or 7 instead of our normal 6. So
Yeah. Yeah. I
so
mean,
that's it's always a struggle for us.
yeah, I've got a couple of podcasts, so I think it's the Movie Wire
Mhm.
and Antonio at the Cultworthy. So I know you've had the Movie Wire on for Between
Oh,
Two Pods, haven't you? Oh, I should also
oh,
shout that out. We'll talk about that after. And I think at time of recording, you're getting Antonio on, aren't you? If you haven't
so
already.
well, we've already talked, but that episode's not going to be out till March. But
Okay. Okay. So
but
this will
we
probably be out before then. So yeah,
yes.
look out for Slade's episode with Antonio. Actually, yeah, the Game Club pod, it's an umbrella now for a lot of pods. So you've got the Game Club pod is your main episodes. Then you've got
Right.
for yourself, you do Between Two Pods where you kind of do this. And then you've got Two Blokes from Blighty.
Yeah, and at this time of recording, there's going to be a fourth show that's going to be out.
Oh, okay.
We're doing like a 4 episode pilot of it, but it's me, a guest we had previously named Jaka, and his partner. And we're going to be talking about anime because, obviously that's one of those things I can sit down and talk to anybody about. But we're going to do a little 4 episode pilot of it, see how it goes, see how people like it. I know it's also niche, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the end, that's how this kind of started was I actually had to do an episode short notice and Antonio from the cult he stepped on and helped me out. And I thought, look, what's a quick and easy episode to do? I think I had like 24 hours or 48 hours to kind of get an episode done. Thought about this, but now the more I thought about it, when you invited me on to Between Two Pods, and I really enjoyed that. And I'm finding more and more the enjoyment is out of sometimes I love the pre chat we have before you press record, but that never makes it out to air. And I thought,
No.
well, why not have that? And you've actually given me an idea. I'm not going to go into it, but you approached me and Josh about an idea for another type of podcast, which I'm formulating as well.
Yeah. To me, it seemed like a great fit for either one of y'all, in my opinion. So I,
Claimed it
can't
now.
wait for it.
Josh
Yeah.
gave it to me. Josh, you gave it to me. I claimed it. That's it now. But it's interesting what you said about how over time when you're podcasting, the interest in what you want to talk about can change as well. Because I've got another one. Actually, when this episode goes out, it'll already have aired. So I'm working on a series of episodes with Justin from the Movie Wire where I can't remember how the episode hit me, but we're going to take a pilot episode for a TV series, focus on that, but then look at how it fit in with the series of the rest
Okay.
of the series. And yeah, I'm going to do it for a few episodes. We'll see how it goes. Is there, and I did have this here, and I know it's the classic question, and you've already answered it, but is there anything else outside then of anime and video games you'd want to talk about?
There's a lot of things I would talk about. I've bored so many people. My work I find really interesting, doing like the geotechnical engineering. A lot of people get really bored because I start explaining the fundamentals of drilling and soil science, and then you can see the eyes glaze over, and
Yeah.
no one wants to talk about it. I'm deep into history. I love history, to be honest. If you just I could sit there and zone out on just any random history lecture or like podcast or whatever. They're some of my favorites. YouTuber I recently discovered named Laserpig, and he's tremendous. His little internet persona of the angry history professor who's fed up with people trying to say actually is really funny and makes him a little endearing. There's that. I don't know. I also like to work on things, mess with stuff. Joey said my Jeep gets more love than any other vehicle, which might be kind of true. It's not often that my girlfriend she'll come by the house and the Jeep will be up on the ramps and I'm underneath it trying to figure something out.
I did see in your Discord channel, which actually I will say here now, if you're listening and you're not part of the Game Club Pod Discord, join it because I think it's hilarious what goes on. Yeah, you recently was it the shiniest looking Jeep I think in the area at the moment, surely, wasn't it? This week, I think you gave it a
Well,
proper
it was. I did
clean.
give it a proper cleaning. Even took the tires off to get like underneath it because I
Wow.
had to do. I did my own brake and rotor swap. Like I do a lot of my own maintenance. Yeah, it saves money when you own a car and drive. Did that and then immediately took it out into the woods to ride on trails that are full of mud. So
Well, I do think when you listen to your podcasts and your appearances, so I'm going to say here now as well, I did say to Joey, I've recently listened to the entire back catalogue now, Game Club Pod.
yeah, I heard about this and I am so sorry. Our mic quality is so poor in the beginning and
You
there's
know
still
what?
some
It's not
awkwardness
as
between
bad.
the three of us.
No, Joey was saying that about the quality, but I thought you guys hit the ground running. I mean, I think mine was, and I've actually archived some of my earlier ones off because I just don't think they're that good sound quality wise. So I'm a huge fan of your podcast. Absolutely. The interesting thing is you do kind of let out nuggets of information about yourself and your
Right.
career, and I find it fascinating. And you mentioned recently or something, what was your degree or your
Oh,
university?
so my actual degree is in computer science. So my actual degree is in Cisco network engineering with an emphasis in hardware safety and Linux, or not safety, security and Linux. And I
Amazing.
do the
These little
polar
things that
opposite.
come out, yeah.
I do
But
the
yeah,
polar
like you
opposite.
said, yeah, polar opposite now. The three of you on the Game Club pod, yeah, there's stories that come out, especially with Joey and Tim on Two Blokes from Blighty, but I just wanna spend, like, a day with you all and just really interrogate you all. So why gaming then for your main podcast? What was it about gaming? Is it just obviously a big passion and
That's
fun?
just yeah, it's just a big passion and fun. I mean, you play games just like the rest of us do, and it's conversations we'd be having anyway, talking about games. Joey said he only picked me because he thought it was funny, which I don't know if he still agrees with or not at this point, but hopefully he does.
And how are the games chosen? Do you all take turns?
Yes. Yeah. So we take you could tell by who's like saying this episode of the Game Club pod contains spoilers for casting views. That's who picked the game.
Yeah.
So we rotate on a schedule essentially. So like Joey will pick a game, I'll pick one, Tim will pick one, and it just goes down like that for the whole year. We have like a spreadsheet with all the games on it. And then Joey and Tim like to keep it secret. I'm bad about just telling people what we have coming up next. So if you want to know, I always say just ask me. Joey and Tim won't tell you. You just
All right, that's a good tip there. You know, having listened to the back catalogue, what I do want to say is it's not a podcast where you all pick a game that that you're all going to agree on and you're all nice and nicely. There have been some quite big disagreements on some games, haven't there?
yeah. There's been a lot of big disagreements on some games. Um, I know the one you're thinking of. It's the Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, where you can hear
Well, there
Tim and
was
I
that. There was
properly
Resi
shouting at
4.
each other.
Well, there
Yeah.
was that. There was Resi 4, and there was also Unpacking.
Unpacking is such a wholesome little indie title, and it doesn't deserve the shin kicking that Joey and Tim give to it. It did nothing wrong. I don't know why they have to be so mean.
I'm with you. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as a I think I said to Joey, I generally tend to play two games
Hmm.
well, not at once, but have two games on the go. One is my main go-to game. So recently it was the Mass Effect trilogy again.
Right.
And then I'll also have one that if I just want to unwind 5 minutes or I just want to play a game, I haven't got too much time and nothing to think about, and Unpacking filled that void for me. It filled that, it scratched that itch. Sorry.
Right. And the other nice thing I really liked about Unpacking, and I said it in the episode, I like the little story that's running in the background that you can watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just watching this person's life as they move from place to place. And hey, it's a little 4 hour time sink. It's not hurting anybody. I just think Joey especially, he just doesn't like cozy games, I think.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's his genre. Not obviously like a dig or anything. I just, so, like I don't like fighting games. It's not my genre.
The other thing I learned listening to yours is be careful what you describe as a fighting game if you want to stay on the right side of Tim, right?
Well, yeah, he agrees that Mike Tyson's Punch Out is like the ultimate fighting game.
I love reference, and I think, do you know what? I think because I'll probably have recorded the episode with them before this one airs, so I might actually say I think I'm going to throw that line in. Actually, yeah.
Ask him if he'd have Mike Tyson's Punch Out to to dinner.
On a serious note, and sometimes there have been you can sense it. There have been some real disagreements over the games, but I kind of enjoy that. Not because I enjoy hearing people disagree, but it just shows that you're not necessarily picking formulaic games that, yeah, we're all going to say how brilliant these are, and everyone's friends. You do have arguments.
Oh yeah, we have some games we all get together as well to just again give a good shin kicking to, like Duke Nukem Forever, Hunt Down
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Freedman. It's nice when we all can come together and just hate a game for being bad, and then
yeah.
vice versa when we come together and love something like Undertale or Breath of the Wild. A game that we can all really agree on.
Before we'll move on, I was just going to ask you, and again, if you listen to your podcast, I'll kind of know. But just for anyone listening, what is your favorite style of game? If what makes you happiest?
It makes me happy. So there's two things, and it's the two most important things in a game. The first is the primary gameplay loop, which is the core gameplay. What are you going to be doing the whole time? Is that rock solid? So you take a game like Neon White. I don't know if you've played it, but it's a first person shooter where it's just like time trials, and it's a really fun gameplay. Now the story is not great. To me, the secondary thing is that the story also has to be solid. So that's why we didn't rate it very high. I mean, we all really liked playing it because it's fun to play. You don't really need to pay attention to the story, and the story is like a baby's first anime plot. There's
Right,
nothing really
right,
too
yeah,
special to it.
yeah.
Or if you take a game like Undertale, where its
Okay.
story and characters are extremely good, and so is the gameplay. And that's why one of the reasons why I gave it a 10 out of 10. It's just rock solid and it has no flaws.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think for me, as I've got older, story's definitely there,
Right.
because I need that hook to get into. But I also am finding now that they've got to be. I'm happier with the smaller games,
Mm-hmm.
time wise,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
especially
yeah.
the other difficult thing for you guys is, yeah, I think you've got like a 2 week turnaround as well, haven't you? So
Right. But we've played, like, I mean, right now we're recorded up to, I could tell you, because we did a bunch, because Joey's on a bit of a break from the game club. I think Podmas was a lot and, trying to play a bunch of other
yeah,
games. But we've recorded up until the end of February, and it's still the beginning of January, while we're recording this.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
we do record pretty good in advance. That's the only way we can really keep up with the schedule. So a lot of times we'll try to throw in some short games, and maybe one or two long ones. But we always look at the website, how long to beat prior to picking games.
right, yeah,
And
yes,
that's also
yes, yeah,
that's also made us change the schedule a couple times as well. You'll look and you'll think, oh, it wasn't that long, and then you see 50 hours attached to it, and you're like,
yeah.
never mind.
I was going to ask you actually, has there been a game that you've started playing, or you've all started playing, and has been so dreadful that you said after a couple of days, no, we're not doing this, let's choose another one?
Um, I don't know if the guys will agree with me, but I think Red Dead Redemption 2 will be that option because
Really?
Tim and I were not having fun with it. I didn't like the story. I didn't really care about Arthur Morgan. The gameplay wasn't that great. It just was very slow and droll. Yeah, Tim and I weren't having fun, and then it's like I didn't know it was like a 70-hour game as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we were supposed to review it last year, and obviously it never happened.
I kind of get that. I played Red Dead Redemption 1, liked it. Red
Hmm.
Dead Redemption 2, I got it, and I found it incredibly slow to get into.
Yeah.
I then played it, but you know what I ended up doing was I saw my wife. One of the things I know if a game's good, or if I can be able to play a bit more during the day, is if my wife sits and watches it, right? And the main missions of Red Dead 2,
Right.
the cutscenes she got hooked into, and that was actually my driving force. I just focused on the main missions.
Right.
I beat it within I don't know how many hours. It's still a while, but I didn't touch any of the side stuff because it just felt too much of a time sink. Yeah,
Right. And I think I pushed it in I forgot what year it was, but when we did Persona 5 Royal, that game's a solid 140 hours. I don't even know if Joey beat it. I know Tim had beaten it prior, but yeah, that game I think pushed it a little too far, especially for as long as it is.
just need you to all do Mass Effect now. That's all.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, have you taken over Chat Tsunami's Twitter account, posting all the Mass Effect stuff? Is it secretly you?
Yeah, no, well, yeah, it will. Yeah, I can see why you think that. Well, we've So we've got actually shout out to the PodPack Collective now. So I know if you've seen that at times. So we've created a little group just to help support each other there. And there were a couple of us in the group. We were talking about Mass Effect. So I found that there's another, I think it's a Two Girls, One Reusable Cup podcast.
Yes.
She absolutely adores Mass Effect as well. And so one day, I think it was over Christmas, because I was just finishing my current playthrough over Christmas. There was everyone woke up to probably about a wall of Mass Effect talk, and I think Chat Tsunami had been talking about it. And I think when he came on my show last, I keep making a joke. Whenever I'm on his and he's on mine, I keep talking about when he's going to do it. And he just decided to go for it. And yeah, I think we've got him hooked. And
Okay.
yeah, I'm loving it, because it's I don't know if you ever feel the same. This is probably a bit of a weird statement, but you know, when someone finally plays a game for the first time that you really love, there's that
Yes.
little bit of excitement and hope that they're enjoying it too, right?
Yes, and you get really excited hearing their thoughts as things. Yeah, I
Yeah, and I'm
feel
like,
that so
oh,
much.
like today he's just said, at time of recording, he's just started number 2, so he's talking about the opening of Mass Effect 2, and I said, oh, well, just wait till this bit and just wait till this bit.
that I feel.
Yeah. Okay. So was there another question? No, I think what I will say is at the end, actually, why don't you plug everything now? What I will say from my part is, yeah, if you're listening and you aren't already subscribed to the Game Club Pod, do it, because as I said, I just love how you guys approach the games. You do it in a fun, natural way. And the fact that, yeah, you all do disagree from time to time, and sometimes strongly, I think is when I say selling point, I'm not saying the anger, but I think the fact that, yeah, you're not, I can't think of the term or the word, but
We're not trying to all be friends at the end of the day. It's
you're being honest. So yeah, plug away.
yeah. Hello, I am Slade, 1/3 of the Game Club Pod. You can find us at all your favorite podcast providers and those sketchy ones. You can also find Dan and I talking on Between Two Pods, where I interviewed him and asked him a lot of questions. And I think it was a great time. He's still on my list. I'm getting through like new guests at the moment, and then I'm gonna have returning guests. So Dan, just be looking for that invite to come back and talk to me again, because I have more questions that need
I
answers.
I remember being actually quite nervous before that, and only for the reason of yeah, I don't think I'd ever been, I say subjected, but I don't think I've ever been subjected to that kind of questioning thing. But yeah, no, I loved it. I loved it, and yeah, and I know people say it all the time and they hear it every time, but you and the other two, really nice people. So yeah, do
Oh,
check
thank
out the
you.
pods, subscribe and rate.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let us tell you what, and on that, having said that, it's not about the other two. I'm actually going to play an ad now, and I'm going to have it for Two Blokes from Blighty. So it's going to fill the void of them not being here. So let's hear from them now.
Hi, I'm a bloke.
And I'm another bloke.
And we are from Blighty. My name is Joey. I'm joined by my co-host Tim.
Hi.
Where every single Wednesday we come at you through the Game Club Pod podcast feed with our show, Two Blokes from Blighty. I tried to think about the kind of topics that we talk about on Two Blokes from Blighty. Tim, what's your favourite topic that we've ever spoken about across our 3 seasons?
The fiasco of me shaving my head.
Mine is the fiasco of you shitting on a toilet seat. If those sound like things you want to hear about, join us every Wednesday by searching Game Club Pod in your podcast provider.
Just makes my life sound a little bit tragic, really, doesn't it?
Would you listen to that show, Tim?
I would.
I don't think I would.
No.
No.
Right, we are back. Let's get into the main thrust of why you're here. You are going to host a dinner party. I'm guest number 1, so, you know, there's no question about that. I'm already through the front door, sitting down. You've given me a beer. You are going to host a 3-course meal, so a starter, a main, and dessert. For each one, you are going to give me, to start with, what we're going to have, what we're going to eat. And then there's going to be a guest, a celebrity or a person of note that's going to join us for the meal, but we'll introduce them one at a time. If there's anything else you want to do, like if there's a drink, I know a couple of people have recently started throwing drinks, but I'm not asking for that. And someone has recently suggested to me, what kind of dress attire should people wear? And I'm not going to throw that at you unless you've
Oh
got an
no,
idea.
No, I'm not a fancy dress person.
Oh, there we go. Well, at the end, I've got a few other random questions. This is all over to you now. So let's start at the start.
Absolutely. So I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and I told you that because I think this is a brilliant idea. Because who would be three people that you would like to sit down and eat with, right? So I decided to go with three people who inspired me creatively. Was what I decided to do because there's like a long list of people I would just like to get the chat with. The first one, and this one's a little bit of the childhood nostalgic for me. It is director David Mitten. Now, you would probably be familiar with David Mitten's work if you've ever heard of a little show called Thomas the Tank Engine. David was the creative director in charge of like making the models and the set and bringing the world to life. And the fact that they did this, I think, for about 10 years before even using CGI, all the effects are practical.
Yeah.
And in miniature, I would just love to hear him talk about how he is making, everything. How did he make the world come to life? How did he figure out how to get the camera so low to the ground? And then there's another show that he put his money into and it flopped, but it's called Tugs.
Okay.
I think what I heard is that the models on it, like each one cost about 8,000 pounds. Like the studio, Clearwater Studios, went under because of them making just one series of this.
Yeah.
And he's somebody I would just like to say, thank you for that. And would just love to pick his brain for a while to see how we even figured out how to do this stuff. Because there's a lot of technical challenges that they had to face because no one had ever tried this before.
So, and this is really bizarre. What I didn't know was that Thomas the Tank Engine actually was big in the States or made it over to the States. Yeah.
It did. Oh, it was massive. It's a worldwide,
Really?
success. Yeah.
How funny. I find that really funny because, do I say, I was not necessarily a massive fan of Thomas the Tank Engine, but it was fun. It was fun. And it's interesting you mentioned about the effects because did you see recently? I think they have redone it, which in a more CGI way, haven't they?
Yeah. So
It's not
they
the
dropped.
same, is it?
No, they dropped the models in like season 12, so it ran for 25 seasons before the reboot. And that's just wild that a show gets 25 seasons.
And obviously really cool because it's got Ringo Starr, right?
It's got such a lineup of a voice cast. Like for the Americans, we got Ringo, but then we got George Carlin, the most foul-mouthed comedian.
Okay. Oh, so did they replace
Yeah,
the
Ringo
voice?
for the American dub, yeah. And then we had Alec Baldwin after that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because his kids loved it, so Alec Baldwin did a demo for it, and it worked out really well. And then,
back on the gaming front, though, Thomas the Tank Engine. If you say Thomas the Tank Engine, all I can think of wasn't there a mod for isn't it Resident Evil 2, the remake, where they replaced Nemesis
and Skyrim, where it replaces the dragons and
yeah, I mean, poor Thomas.
So we're gonna have that, and what we're gonna do is we're having everybody over to a big barbecue, Dan. So this is about to roll all day, is what's gonna happen. So just to get us started, we're gonna have some little slider burgers. Not the too filling or anything. Queso and cheese because everybody loves melted cheese on some tortilla chips. And we're also gonna have there's a sausage that's made here, not in my town, but down in Evergreen, Alabama, called Conecuh. And that's spelt, by the way, Conecuh for your little note taken. So it looks like Conecuh, pronounced Conecuh. So we're going to get some of that and make little mini Conecuh dogs. We're going to have those out there while the smoker and everything's going. Everybody's hanging out. There's cold beers provided by Decaying with the Boys over in the coolers. And, everybody's hanging out, having a good time.
You've won me over already. You've won me over with this starter already. I love, and it's funny because I don't really do them. Barbecue is a thing over here, of course, but it's not a culture. It doesn't feel like it's a tradition, as much as it is in the States, especially in the South. Yeah.
Right. And so we'll get into that with the main, right? And with the main, again, the next person who inspires me musically, because I don't know if you know this, like behind the wall is drums and bass and amps and things like that back
really?
there.
Okay.
Yeah. Is the one and only Dave Grohl.
Nice.
The nicest man in rock and roll. Obviously, we have to have him over. He's also a barbecue pit master. It's like he's on the
Really?
side. It's like he's on the side quests for life at this point. Just filling out all the other objectives.
Yeah.
But Dan, we're gonna have a. I don't even think I really need to go into who Dave Grohl is. I couldn't imagine not knowing him. A while back, I finished his book. It's really good if you have a chance to read it or get it on Audible. He reads it himself.
Okay.
Very interesting life. People he's gotten his stories about him playing with Prince, Iggy Pop. The fact that I'm blanking on the name right now. I want to make sure I get it. Tom Petty
Okay.
wanted after this is post Nirvana. Tom Petty wanted Dave Grohl for his drummer, and I
Really?
couldn't picture Tom Petty
Yeah.
with Dave Grohl playing. That would just be wild to have this just punk kid.
Yeah. Straight
Playing
after
soft
that. I mean,
rock. Yeah.
that's the thing about Dave Grohl, isn't it? How he went from being the drummer in Nirvana, he wasn't necessarily front and center to
No.
conquering basically conquering
Yeah.
everything, wasn't it? The musical world and
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know he was the backup singer for Kurt Cobain. So he also did vocals in Nirvana. But so the first Foo Fighters album, what's interesting is that he recorded everything himself.
Really?
So he did all the vocals himself, all the bass, the guitar, the piano you hear, and obviously the drums.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
And then he just printed out I think he said 100 cassettes and handed them out. And was like, oh, and he titled it Foo Fighters, didn't put his name in there, and just said, oh, check out this band I discovered. What do you tell me what you think?
Okay. Yeah. That's amazing, isn't it? That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love stories like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's his book's really good if you get a chance to read it. It's him and his mom is one of the biggest influences in his life, and she also did a HBO series called Mothers of Rock Stars or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, where she goes and interviews moms of other musicians.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's really good. But Dan, are you ready for this smorgasbord we're gonna have? Because we're gonna have some classic smokers. We're gonna have brisket that's been rolling all day, ribs, because you got to have ribs. Now, there's an argument in the South about where the ribs come from. So if you're in Texas, you're going to get beef ribs. Here in Alabama, it's pork. So we're doing pork ribs.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you look at the South, there's a barbecue map line. So depending where you are, you're either going to get beef, pork, or chicken.
Okay. I love the rules around this.
There are rules. We're going to have some potatoes because you got to have something with your barbecue, something to soak up all the extra sauce and the meat juices coming down. So I couldn't decide. What do you think would sound better? Mashed potatoes, smashed potatoes, or just baked potato?
I think smashed potatoes.
Smashed potatoes, just something that you can sit there and all the little meat juice that falls off, something to soak it up lovely.
Yeah, you see, out of the three, I love all three. I mean, potatoes anyway, brilliant.
yeah.
But yeah, it's got to be smashed or mashed for me. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the last thing, and I should have put this on our starter. Have you ever had a smoked jalapeno popper?
No, I can safely say no.
So you take jalapenos, you cut them in half, de-seed them, put cream cheese in it, and then wrap it in bacon and throw it on the smoker.
That's heaven, isn't it? Yeah.
You get a little bit of the creaminess from the cheese, savory from the bacon, a little heat from the jalapeno. And once you've taken the membrane and the seeds out, it's really good.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy it. Jalapenos are actually really nice to eat. Yeah,
and I'm a big proponent of if I'm going to get jalapenos, they got to be fresh. I can't stand the jarred ones. I don't know about you. They have to just have a vinegary bitterness to them.
Yes, yeah.
But that's going to be our main course. And obviously, I'm expecting Dave to roll up with some music. I'll put him in charge of that.
Well, you're going to jam with him, it sounds like. Right?
I hope so. I'd kill to do it.
I mean, I'm going to come back at the end to talk to you about some of these guests and some of these things you've said. But yeah, at the moment, this is, I don't know if you've heard the episode with Jay from the F My Work Life podcast
yes, I have.
But I do love barbecue/meat, or definitely a barbecue based meal is winning me over. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Did you know there's also rules to sauce as well? By the way, that's also a thing.
I think I've heard you
This-
mention this actually, but yeah, what's all that?
So when I was a couple times when I've been down to Texas, is they won't put barbecue sauce on the table because the barbecue is supposed to be perfect the way it is.
Yeah, I think I've heard you
And
talk about that. That's
yeah,
brilliant. Yeah,
yeah.
I love. I mean, I'm one for not having rules around food, but I love that there are certain traditions or rules around this
Yeah.
in different regions.
Absolutely. And my last one is somebody who inspires me in just like the way I like to look at the world, the way I do some of the writing for Game Club Pod. And it's a name already mentioned. It's George Carlin. Not only do I think he's funny and insightful, and in his later years, more of a philosopher than a comedian, in my opinion. Just this way he looked at the world, and I think he's also got a book. His brother reads it for if you do the Audible edition about his life. Also extremely bizarre. Like he didn't go to like a traditional school. It was a school for the like performing arts at a young age.
Right.
He had his time in the Air Force where I think he was dishonorably discharged for marijuana, and just how he got his start, getting over things like doing cocaine. Had a point where like he lost all of his money and had to get it back because he wasn't paying his taxes, so they took everything from him, which is why he was also performing at such a old age.
And of course, he was in Bill and Ted's, right?
He was.
I think that's what, probably most people here in the UK will know him from.
Yeah, if you've never listened to his stand-up, it's even today, it's really funny, and the way he looks at things, cynically but keeping it lighthearted. I try to do that when I'm writing some of my reviews, sometimes down for Game Club.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah,
yeah, and for that, there's a little place here in Alabama called Mrs. Dean's Cakes. And we're going to go pick up a couple of her 7-layer cakes. There is, we're going to just do red velvet, caramel, and chocolate.
you said caramel. Don't you say caramel over there?
People say, so my girlfriend says caramel and I say caramel.
Okay.
And we're both from the South. So figure that one out, Dan.
So, sorry, what were those flavors you said again? Sorry.
So we're going to do red velvet.
Yeah.
Caramel and chocolate. And these are
Chocolate.
7-layer cakes. So, where it's just like a little bit of bread, a little layer of, icing, more cake, icing cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a dessert person? Are you a cake person?
I've got to be in the mood to be a dessert.
Yeah.
Like I don't keep sweets in the house, to be honest. Like
Right. Yeah.
I'm not a big sweets person. Now, girlfriend, she's a big sweets person. In the refrigerator, she just has a drawer of Butterfingers hanging out.
Yeah.
I got like a dessert to me would be just peanut butter on a piece of bread. I just don't have a massive sweet tooth, but I do love these because they are like the best cake. This is what I asked for instead of a birthday cake. Is one of the.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I'm much more give me 2 starters than a dessert. But
Right.
if you give me a cake, I'm going to eat it. And I'm with you. We don't tend to have many sweet things in the house. But the other day, my wife went shopping and bought some chocolates, and I've pretty much demolished that box because when they're in the house, I'll eat them.
Right, exactly. And I'm bad about the mindless, eating or whatever. So,
Yeah,
I also
yeah.
have to keep things like chips out of the house, or crisps, as you would call them. I have to keep them away from my desk because if I'm sat here editing, that bag will be gone.
Okay. I want to have a review of this because I want to talk about it. So yeah, so your starters: slider burgers, queso and cheese, and the Kaneka sausage. That's perfect. I love like the finger foods. I love the foods that is like social, where you can imagine that's going to be a table set up in your backyard or something,
Right.
and we're just going to chill and help ourselves to it. Is that where you're from? So you said you're from Alabama, right?
Right.
And again, being a Brit, that's quite broad area, yeah, because we're used to everything being tiny here.
Right.
Is eating and food, is it a social thing there?
Oh, absolutely. During football, like, American college football season, you can't step out of your house and not smell somebody's grill cooking something. You just can't do
Nice.
it. And you can always tell people who are having it. You'll see cars lined up and down the streets, and
Yeah.
gate to the backyard is open, and it's a massive social event when these kind of things happen. So like some nights we'll just have friends over and say everybody pick one dish and bring it, kind of like a potluck, but you could end up with ribs or chicken wings or something like that. You never know.
None of that's disappointing.
No. And I also try to do, try to get some stuff as local as I can. We have places where you can just go get, cows that are raised here and, pigs that are raised here. So I try to do that to the best of my ability when I can.
And so, do you do a lot of this yourself? Is it regular?
I would say it's regular. Every couple of months, we're more regular just to go to somebody's house and sit around a fire in the backyard and drink versus everybody making food and bringing something. Because the thing about, especially barbecue, it takes a long time.
Yes.
I'm going to be committing to that for a full day. Like a brisket, you're committing, 12 to 14 hours.
Yeah.
So you're getting up at 3 a.m, Dan, to, start the grill and get it going. And, we don't use propane. You use charcoal or wood.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So you have to properly light a fire.
And I don't know about over there, but here the cost of meat and good cuts of meat like that as well is, you wouldn't be able to do it more than once a quarter, I think.
Right. Or we'll pick somebody and say, oh, this person's cooking, everybody chip in, whatever the amount is. That's the other way to do it. Or, if somebody's cooking for you, you show up with more beer than you're going to drink and you just leave it at their house.
Or it's almost like, if we look at your mains, you've got, like you said, the brisket, pork ribs, potatoes, poppers. Yeah, you turn up with a big, I don't know, rice salad or another side dish. Yeah, you bring a couple of side dishes along. And that's really what I like. I love the ability to kind of pick a little bit from everywhere.
Right.
Or, sorry, pick a little of a lot of things and get those different flavors.
Yeah. So, like, my parents do, like, a big Christmas, New Year's party. And you can't sit at the dining room table because it's just full of food for people to go and grab. You'll get sliders, pimento cheese sandwiches, just chips, just different things out there on the table for anybody to get. A little cheese and cracker plate. And
amazing.
Yeah.
And like you said about the barbecue, because I think it was previous guest. So I was editing this episode just before we started recording. It's Adam from Decaying with the Boys, and I think it was that episode where we were talking about this. I love foods that have been marinating or cooking for hours. Now I appreciate the effort. I'm not the one doing that, but yeah, if it's got herbs and spices, if it's been marinating for a day or half a day, if it's been cooking for half a day, those are the foods that are going to interest me. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Before food costs really went up, I used to do like Friendsgiving, and I'd just get a couple turkey breasts and I'd smoke them for a couple hours before everybody showed up.
Nice. There's a Netflix show. It's like the Great British Bake Off, but it's Texan barbecue.
Okay.
And that was my favorite show for a bit because, oh my word, the dips, the sauces, the cuts of meat, it was just mesmerizing to watch. It had me hypnotized from the start, and the smokers and the amount of time. And it's just something you don't really see over here. We're not really that inclined to do it like that over here.
No, I don't. I think that's one of the things. I don't want to say culturally, it's just missing over there. You don't have the. I don't want to say proper, barbecue, but you don't see somebody with a. Have you ever heard of the big green egg, like grill?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, those things are like $600. You don't see somebody with one of those in their back garden.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that one actually, because my wife, she worked for a company where they did sell those. So yeah, here it's going to be quite far between. You're going to see someone. It's going to be someone who's bought it because of the name, rather than it's probably in the garage somewhere. Yeah, like I said, barbecues here, and people have got better at it. But if I remember back in the day, it was like, it was that little round
little
one
red
on some
grill.
wheels.
Yeah,
Yeah. Chuck the charcoal in. It was going to be burnt on the outside and raw on the inside. And
it hurts my soul, Dan.
yeah, it has changed, but yeah, it's still not the way I think the South of America would do it.
Yeah. Well, it's like not using lighter fluid. That's like a big thing. You don't use it, so they make these things called charcoal chimneys. It's like a little round metal piece of metal with the handle on it. You pour your charcoal on top, and it's got a grate. And again, because the South, we recycle in a different way. I'll take the newspaper or the coupon page that I didn't ask for at a store I'll never go to, put that underneath it, and use that to light the charcoal.
Right. Okay. I think it is also, as we said, a tradition and a cultural thing about. I think here we've lost the fact that meal times are also like a socializing time. You'll go out if you want to socialize a meal, you'll go out for dinner. But
Right.
I think, you'll get obviously the big family gatherings here still. Yeah, people wouldn't necessarily want to spend 12, 14 hours for something that isn't a Christmas dinner.
Right. 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 That's the other thing. It's a lot of time commitment. It's a lot of money. And what do you do if you get it wrong? You just have
Yeah,
to sit there
yeah.
and eat your meal of shame.
Yeah,
And you're gonna have more meals of shame when you're learning how to do it
yeah.
than not. The thing though is a lot of people don't realize with when it comes to like smoking stuff like brisket especially, once you have the fire going and the temperature right, you just don't really, you check on it occasionally, but you don't have to worry about it too much. Just make sure your temperature's not too high, too low.
Mm,
If
mm.
I have one rolling in my smoker, I may go check on it every hour.
Right, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not standing out there by it. I may
Yeah,
go off
yeah.
for a nap and come
Yeah,
back.
yeah. If you're doing it properly. And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the thing. I guess over here as well, as I mentioned, I mean, I'm not gonna know the details. Costs will be higher of the meat for a good cut anyway. I think you'd
Hmm.
be paying a lot more here than you probably do over there.
Oh yeah.
In terms of, no, I had a question about barbecue, and oh no, it's not about barbecue. So I know. So you've been over to the UK a couple of times,
Yes.
haven't you? At least
Well,
once.
just once. I spent 10 days over there. That was the one and only time I met Joey. Was we sat down at a restaurant and it was okay. Yeah, that was the one and only time I met Joey.
I need to meet Joey. And Tim, if you're listening, Tim. So, what was your view on, or what was your experience of British cuisine? And now, be
Um,
careful.
Indian food is really good. That'd be my view of British cuisine.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, the multicultural, the
Cultural, yeah.
multi-country food really well over here. Yeah, there's a lot of bit of imported food, and you can eat around the world really well, I think.
Oh yeah, no. So that's
Yeah.
where, and unfortunately, where I live, there's like only two like really good Indian restaurants. And the really good one is all the way across town, and I can never commit to a 20-minute drive to go over
Wow,
there to
yeah.
get some and
Yeah.
come back. But yeah, finding out that was really good. I had Greg's for the first time, and
Yeah.
the legendary sausage roll that everyone
What
loves.
do you think of that?
So it's good, but there's so for the Americans, if you're like, what the hell is the Greg sausage roll? If you get a sausage McGriddle, it's about the same thing. So it's like the pancake batter around like a piece of sausage. So if you go to McDonald's and ask for a sausage McGriddle, it's kind of the same thing, but still not really. They're very good though. There's there's a story about Greg's. Tim and I, we went around meeting. You've probably talked to Alex in our Discord before.
Yeah.
The one we called the Northern Boy. Also
Yes,
met
yeah,
him while I was there. But we were getting on a bus to go from Bristol to Birmingham, and we stopped in Greg's, to grab some snacks, ride on the bus and everything. And I don't know who at Greg's made that sandwich, but they just like dipped it in mayonnaise essentially.
Wow.
That's how much was on there. Like I think I got like a mayonnaise sandwich with a little bit of chicken on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and mayonnaise and my stomach do not get along very well.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little crass, but I had just the worst farts. You could ask Tim about it.
I like mayonnaise, but not too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I like a little bit of it, but this was just like if you squeezed the sandwich too hard, it was like coming out of the sandwich. Yeah, I don't know who slathered it on there, but it was way too much. Tim says it was my fault. I don't think so because I just grabbed the sandwich off the shelf and it didn't say mayonnaise with chicken.
Yeah, how is that your fault? Yeah, feels a bit harsh, Tim.
But he might have just been bad for having to smell them for like the next night or two in the Airbnb that we were in.
Right. Yes. Yes. And I did have to chuckle when you say Greg's, because Greg's is like a cheap. Well, when I say cheap, everything's relative, but it's your cheap high street baked goods, right? Yeah.
I mean, it was good. Don't get me wrong, it was good. We had a lot of good food though while going place to place. When we were in Birmingham, we went to a pub for breakfast, which is not, you would know, it's not really a thing in the States. The pub's not, it's like lunch and dinner, no breakfast.
Yeah.
I didn't even read this, but I saw an item and it was called the American, and I just ordered it. I didn't read the description, but it was 2 pancakes with a slice of cheese and bacon in the middle, covered in syrup.
The cheese bit confuses me. I'm surprised they added that on there.
Yeah, it was a slice of like plasticky American cheese
Oh,
with
yes.
like 2 slices of bacon and this is like not separate. It's just in like stacked together,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
it was actually pretty good. Not gonna lie, I felt
I
bad
do
about
love.
eating it, but it was actually good. It's like sweet and salty,
Yeah, yeah.
so it was hard to not like it.
I do love what you've reminded me about American cheese. That around the world and all the delightful foods you've got. But yeah, you state your name to a sort of processed cheese in a plastic wrapper.
Yeah. So, but the only good thing about the plastic cheese is that it melts nicely. So, when you're
Absolutely. Oh, it's
making,
great in hot, burgers and stuff like that. Absolutely.
so when you're making queso, it's great for it because it melts so good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And going back to sausage roll, for me, that's a perfect on the move snack. Love it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Love it. Love it.
It's just an easy thing to eat while you're on the go.
Yeah, yeah. I do think British food does get a bad rap. I mean, it's not, if you look at the proper traditional British food, it's not the most exciting, but I think I do love a good roast meal. We have
Yeah.
one a week. Yeah,
Well, I
it's
think
great. And as I said, you can't go down any high street without walking past either a Thai, a Japanese, an
right.
Indian.
I mean, y'all
And
y'all have
yes,
a
okay,
very good
that's
y'all have a really good multicultural, like pick really.
yeah. So yeah, you're never stuck for food. But yeah, the British get the rap for our food being beige, basically.
I mean, you
Which
say British food to me, I think of fish and chips, and then somebody putting mushy peas on there, which doesn't ever look appetizing.
mushy peas is amazing. Mushy peas is amazing. I've got so literally sort of within 5 minute walking distance, I've got a little pizza takeaway and a fish and chip shop. And yeah, it's either a portion of mushy peas with it or curry sauce, which you just then drizzle over it. Nice,
Um,
nice.
so when I went to England, I did like an overnight flight. So this way I can sleep anywhere. That's like the one superpower I truly have. I can, if as soon as I'm
Amazing. I wish
comfortable,
I could.
I can go to sleep. So my flight left at like 11 o'clock at night, and then I got into London Heathrow at, I think it was like 9 in the morning. So we just we were gonna grab the train to go from London to Bristol, and we just went into Subway, which was the most baffling experience I had ever had in a Subway. So for the Dan, have you ever been into an American Subway?
I have actually.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
The Subway sandwich chain.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you go in there in America, you have like all the meats you could ever want. You have like 12 cheeses, a bunch of sauces and everything. And so I went in there and I'm like, I'm just gonna get a quick turkey sandwich, just something I can eat on the train and not make a massive mess. And
Yeah.
the lady, I was like, I just like a turkey sandwich, on there was like only 4 breads to choose from instead of like the normal 10 that we have over here for options.
Right.
And I
Okay.
think I
Yeah.
just got a flatbread, and she was like, what kind of cheese would you like on it? And I said, what kind do you have? And she goes, spicy or regular? And I looked at her and I go, well, what does that mean? What is regular cheese? What do you
Did you not have that option over there then?
No, it'd be like American, Swiss,
Oh,
provolone,
okay. Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
just
Okay.
spicy or regular, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, what do you mean by spicy or regular?
Just choose spicy. Go with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really confused just right out the gate with the first option, and then that night, we had fish and chips was like the first proper meal. We just needed something to grab on the train and
Love
get
fish and
running with.
chips. Love fish and chips.
Yeah, Bristol first bus still emails me occasionally telling me to come back, and I'm like, I don't think you realize I don't live there.
No, I was going to say my Subway story this was the first time I'd actually been to the chain. I think this was quite a few years ago in America. It was.
Mhm.
And there was a few of us sort of over from England, and the woman was in front of me. She asked for, she goes, oh, can I have I think it was sweet corn, lettuce, and tomato. And the woman behind the counter goes, excuse me. She goes, sweet corn, lettuce, and tomato. And she was saying, what? She was saying tomato. And then she points to it, and the woman behind the counter goes, oh, you mean tomato? And it's like that's pretty much what she was saying. Yeah. And I just loved it. I just loved it. And again, I love the idea of Subway that you just go in
Yeah.
and you get a nice sandwich like that, chuck what
Yeah.
you want in it, and yeah, 5 minutes you've got the sandwich your way. I love
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah, I I remember I was talking to these two girls at like this mini golf thing we were like playing at, and they were going, "Oh, I love your accent. Where are you from?" And I said New York. I don't know why I decided to just pick the polar opposite state of where
Yeah,
I'm from, but I
yeah.
just hope that they think that my southern accent belongs to the state of New York because I think that would be really funny.
So now, whenever they hear, I don't know, anything based in the deep south, they're just going to be thinking it's the east sort of east
Did he
side.
lie to us? You know,
Yeah.
that kind of.
On your guests, then. So, just a quick question: do you think they'd all get on, or that? Well, in George Carlin's case, that they would have got on if that if they were all sitting around the table.
Well, David Mitten's also not with us anymore, but
Oh, sorry, yeah, of
yeah,
course, yeah.
I would hope so. I would hope they would all get along. I would hope so. I think no telling what's going to come out of George's mouth, but
What I do like is they are all very different. You've got the world of comedy and acting, the world of music, and David Mitten, who obviously the Thomas the Tank Engine. They're all very different walks of life.
yeah, David's actually got a pretty good like filmography. I think that's the right term for it. I know somewhere Antonio and is yelling about me not using that word correctly, but Antonio and Justin. But yeah, he's actually got a pretty good like different things that he's done before that. But that would be like the big one everyone would know him from.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and just going back because I love recording with you. One, because I just speaking with you anyway, but I love seeing all the posters up in your room, like the gaming thing. But what I didn't know, I know last time we spoke, I can't remember if it was on or off air. You spoke about your vinyl, and because we've spoken
Ooh,
before about
yes.
I love a vinyl, but I didn't know. Yeah, behind the wall you've got all sorts of musical equipment as well and instruments. So
Yeah.
bit of a musical person then.
Yeah. Yeah, I've played drums for like the last 15 years.
Wow.
I play a little bit of bass, just trying to learn just an instrument at a time in my free time. I don't
It's
really
always
have the
learning something new about you every time I speak to you. Look at this.
I don't really have the finger dexterity to play guitar, so I picked bass because, bigger strings and yeah, I have that, and then the only really weird instrument I have is an omnichord. Well, I also have an auto harp. I don't know
Yeah.
how to play the auto harp. Somebody just gave it to me. The omnichord is weird. Like people like Michael Jackson, Prince used it, and it's used in a lot of EDM music nowadays.
Right. Okay.
And it was like
Okay.
an instrument that was made like in the 70s and 80s, and they go for a pretty penny nowadays.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
found it at a garage sale for $200 is what they had on it,
Right.
and it was in the
Okay.
case and looked brand new. So I picked it up quickly, and like a quick search on eBay, they're selling for like $500. So to me, it was like because they don't make them anymore. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
people will just price instruments like that sky high.
Would you offer Dave to have a jam with him and then Dave
Oh
Grohl?
yeah, yeah. I don't know if I'd want to play drums for him though, because you have to look at one of the greatest drummers of all time and sit behind him. I don't know if I'd be a little too intimidated. Probably, I'd be dropping my sticks a bunch.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know too much about him, but from what I see of him, he just does also seem like one of the nicest people to
Yeah.
also talk to. Being a Nirvana fan when I was younger, not that I wasn't a massive Foo Fighters fan, but it just wasn't necessarily the music I'd be listening to. But you just see him now, you see him on TV, you see the appearance he makes. Yeah, he does seem like someone you just want to have a chat with.
Yeah, and that's why he's got the title of nicest man in rock and roll. Is I just genuinely think he is.
Okay. I've got a few other questions just to throw your way though. So try to link in a little bit to the pod, which I'm going to have a complete nightmare then when I speak to Joey and Tim for Two Blokes from Blighty. I don't know. Maybe it just have to be you give me a 3-course meal from Greg's. Maybe it's that. Um, and Greg's, if you're out there, I'm up for sponsorship. If you could invite, well, let's say 1 to 3 video game characters to dinner, who would they be and why?
So I was thinking about this a bit, and I found a workaround that you may not like because I don't know if you know that this game exists. The big problem is, Dan, that a lot of the games that I like are single player games where the main character doesn't speak. So this would be the
Of course.
quietest dinner. Yeah, I got to thinking about that. I was like, this would be the quietest dinner party of all time, right?
Yeah.
So what I got to thinking about is the fact that there's a Hell's Kitchen video game.
Oh, well, okay.
So we can count Gordon Ramsay as a video game character.
Oh, that's a bit of a cheat code. I'll allow it. I'll allow it. But
If you didn't know that this exists, it is a thing. So it was for the Wii.
okay.
And with the Wii like remote, you had to like make all the food and serve it to the guests while Gordon shouts at you.
Yeah, I mean, of course he'd just be shouting. Yeah, yeah. So is it video game Gordon Ramsay then that you'd
Yeah,
be?
video game
Okay.
Gordon Ramsay is who we're, and then because he's been featured in a couple games, but he's also my favorite game critic, Yahtzee Croshaw. He's also made some. He's been in.
Okay.
You would may know him from the meme of PC Master Race.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He coined the term.
Okay. Okay.
He was also on my list of with a few other people when I was trying to pick out who I would want, and then I came up with a theme of creative inspiration. I was like, oh, well, this works. But I think those because otherwise I'm gonna name characters like Gordon Freeman from Half-Life. He doesn't say a word. Again, that's a very quiet dinner we're about to have.
Probably perfect dinner guest though, right?
He'd probably just eat, pay, and leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Yeah, you probably wouldn't even see him because he'd probably just use the is it the gravity gun just to pull his food
just
towards him.
pull the food to him.
Yeah.
Pull it and you towards him. That's what would happen.
Yeah, that's a very good point about the fact that they're often they don't speak. Yeah, well played.
It could also do it would be funny. Have you played the Stanley Parable before?
Yes.
To not to have the narrator to dinner, but to have him present, speaking as the food's being served, and you just hear some. Little did Dan and Slade know.
Yeah, it would be more like Dan thought no one noticed him going for his 6th helping of ribs during the main course, but everyone was looking in a disapproving way.
That would also be a fun one. I was thinking about stuff like that, and then just not really a main character, but the fact of the narrator would be really, really funny.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. Okay, this was a really random one, and I felt it was a bit mean, but I still threw it anyway. Is there a food in like a game food? Because I know there's often been things like I think the Halo cookbook or whatever.
Right.
Is there game food that you would try to serve?
So I have before made food from the Fallout cookbook.
Oh, really? Okay.
I have done that before, but have you ever played like one of the Monster Hunter series? Like Monster
Briefly,
Hunter World
yeah.
or anything? Okay, so there's a thing where you make food before you go on a hunt. And that is a cutscene I never skip no matter how many times I watch it because they make the food look too good in that cutscene.
Okay. Okay.
So that's one. There's I wrote Stardew Valley, but that would also be kind of a cheat code because it's just real world food. There's nothing
Yeah.
And then my personal favorite JRPG series, Persona 5. Part of the time you you live above a cafe.
Okay.
And some of the food that they have in there, like you learn how to cook to give you buffs in the world and everything, and it looks really good.
Okay, yeah. The Fallout cookbook then, is that what were you making from that?
I was trying to remember what I did make of it. I know I tried. Oh, I think it was like the burger or something like that. It has a burger recipe in it, and I'm a big burger fan.
What a time we live in now that we're getting cookbooks from video games.
Well, there's like the Skyrim one. There's Fallout. Five Nights at Freddy's has one. There's I have the Bob's Burgers cookbook as well.
Okay.
Which is just burger recipes, and they're pretty good. It's fun to do. Sometimes it gets when you have to buy like specialty ingredients to make one thing, it's a little annoying because stuff you don't have.
The last one I had was if you would hold the dinner party in any game world, which one would it be and why?
I think we'd have it in Stardew Valley, mainly because there isn't a. Do you know what Stardew Valley is? Have you played it, Dan?
No, I've not played it. Yeah, I know what it is. But...
So that's a game that we are reviewing this year, and Tim and I both said that's one of those games you'll sit down to play it for 30 minutes, like in the morning, and then the next thing you notice is the sun is going down,
right?
Because you just get sunk into it. But they have like food festivals in that game where they get the whole town together in town square, and it it looks really lovely. Or they have like a beach luau as like one of the game events. So I think you'd have it somewhere like there, also because you don't have to worry about a monster showing up and trying to fight people
or take my food.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to worry about things like that.
Okay, that's fair enough. And one other one I hadn't said to you before, but if you after the meal, if you had to stick a film on for us to watch, like one of your favorite films.
Oh man, One of my favorite films, and you know I'm not a big movie guy if you've listened to our podcast,
Yeah.
which made Justin and Antonio's interviews so much harder. If I had to put on one of my favorite films,
It can be an anime. It can be an anime.
oh, I know it could. I was just trying to think for general. Well, see, the other thing, a lot of my favorite movies are either like comedies, you see like Airplane, Animal House, or like I love, like a good war movie, Saving Private Ryan, Fury, things like that. Or I also like really bad movies is the other thing. So,
Okay.
you ever heard of Neil Breen?
No.
He Antonio and I talk about him for a bit, but he writes, directs films, and stars in his own movies, and they are awful.
Really?
they are awful.
We're gonna have to check this out now. Yeah.
I'll send you a trailer for one of his like newest movies, and if you can get through it, let me know. But we sometimes will have a Neil Breen movie night where we'll have the drinking game is what it ends up being, and we'll write the rules down on a big poster board, and it'll take us 3 hours to get through like a 90-minute film because people will start to feel a bit sick because of how much they've had or having to go to the bathroom too much. It's a good time, but it's they are not good films. Have you watched an anime film before?
Have I watched an anime? That is a really good question. I'm not sure I have.
Oh man. I just it'll probably be out by the time this is. We just wrapped up Attack on Titan, which is my favorite anime of all time, with Josh.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Josh sent me a message saying he has never sworn so much in a episode of Talking Smack, but it just made him so sad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's I was in London at the weekend, and there is a stage play they're doing coming up, and it's based on an anime, a famous one, and I can't remember, and I want to go see it, and I can't remember. Again, it's not that I don't like anime. It's
Right.
just, do you know what it is? I think there's an element of fear of it's a world I haven't been too exposed to, and falling into that, and where do I start? And do you know what I mean? It's not that I don't like it. I'm just, it's like, where do you start?
It's just overload is what it
Yes,
is.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's because there's so much to go and watch. It's like media overload. We got Antonio to watch his first, and he still has his Crunchyroll subscription after we got him to watch Your Name and Sing a Bit of Harmony, 2 films. And and he's like, this is just a medium I've never seen, and it was excellent. He's like, why have I not been watching it? So
Yeah, and that's the
but
thing.
again, I get you. It's where do you begin? I feel that a lot with games, especially ones like, you talked about Resident Evil 4, where I'm
Yeah.
sitting there and I'm not enjoying it, and I'm like, I have to sit here and be the contrarian about not liking something that everybody loves.
I think for me, it's like if I get into something and I really like it, I then just want to do the overload. I want to immerse myself in it, and I just feel that I've left it far too late because there's just too much. There's just too much. And then
Yeah.
where do I put everything if I want books and things like that? I've barely got space for my records anymore now. So
Oh, and I feel you. There's a shelf off to the right, and it is full of like the manga books and figures and a couple Lego sets, and it's just I don't have any
yeah,
room for anything else.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. But it's 2024. Maybe this is the year I've got to get into it. So yeah.
It's a fun time, really. I can't praise Attack on Titan enough, and it's one of those shows. It's a masterclass in foreshadowing, and
Right.
so my girlfriend just started watching it a second time because she was showing it to her sister, and she was messaging me like, "I'm so angry that I didn't notice this," and it's like characters that are season 4 important who
Right.
are in season 1.
Oh, okay,
And you're
okay.
just looking at him, and it's like the big villain, and you're like, "What do you mean he's right there?"
See, and I love stuff like that because programs and shows and films, they don't allow things to burn long enough. So you watch a series and there'll be just a random encounter, and you'll say straight away, that's a villain or that's a love interest, because you just know, because they don't
Right.
waste, or there's no time to waste for, like you said, foreshadowing or a slow build up.
Now, Breaking Bad, I think, is a good masterclass in
Yeah.
regular TV show like build up like that, because it does a lot of. That's also a show that's worth a second watch for some of its foreshadowing.
Okay.
of
Yeah,
things that
yeah,
are going to
yeah,
happen.
yeah. I've never done a second watch through of that. I keep threatening that I will, but I just, again, it's just that I know when I tend to not binge watch stuff. I can watch 2 or 3 episodes of something and then I have to switch off because I start losing attention.
Right.
Breaking Bad was the one exception to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I just watched as much as I could. Yeah.
Have you watched Better Call Saul?
No, do you know what? I haven't.
Yeah, oh, man, it's so good. You need to. It's really
You're the
good.
second person I think in a matter of weeks that's done that. So okay, again, I'll make that my mission this year.
It's
But at least
really good.
I've got a number of series for it now, though. At least, right? So
No, it's done.
no, that's what I mean.
Oh yeah.
At least I
Oh
don't have
yeah.
to wait. It's all there. So
Yeah, because I started watching it before the final season, and then I was sat there waiting for the last season to drop on Netflix, and it's really good.
okay, I'll check that out. I'll check that out. I am going to start looking to wrap this up. I could talk to you all night, and I've got a couple more reasons for getting you on again anyway. So don't worry about that. I've got that in the back of my head. Now, do you want to just give your show another plug before we head off?
Sure, I can do that. Again, hello, I'm Slade from the Game Club Pod. You can find me pretty much everywhere at Slade Plays Games, except on Instagram. That is at Slade's Life. I'm part of the Game Club Pod. Once every 2 weeks, we review a video game, not too dissimilar to a book club. We also have other shows like Two Blokes from Blighty, where it's my co-hosts Joey and Tim, just shooting the shit for an hour every week. They try to do a joke of the week and have a pub quiz question for you. I do another show called Between Two Pods, where I bring people like Dan on, or our friends at Talking Smack, or The Movie Wire, or The Cult Worthy, and interview them.
Yeah, check them all out. I'm always envious of when shows come on and wrap up their show in such a perfect and succinct way, and I still can't. And I've been doing this for 2.5 years now. So.
I like. No, you do fine, Dad. You do a good job with it.
I can't do the sales pitch. I do a sub series at the moment, Black Mirror, with a friend, and we keep joking in that I've not been able to nail an intro because I change it all the time. And actually, this week I stopped mid intro because halfway through I realised this is the intro I need to use from now on, and I actually stopped. So yeah, do check out all those pods. Slade is and Joe and Tim, just brilliant to listen to. Like I said, I've recently gone through and listened to the whole back catalogue and found it so entertaining.
I want to apologize again for you doing that.
We will get Tim and Joey on. They're obviously being a little bit more exclusive. The contract negotiations are taking much more. Slade's just far more accommodating.
Yeah, they're harder to get with and everything.
Yeah,
just because Joey doesn't want to do anything until after like 8 p.m. Y'all's time.
Well, it's just the list of items he's trying to expense from me. The posh bottles of water, mineral water beforehand.
No,
and stuff
he's got to have his bottles of Prime and
yeah. So I'm just getting my accounting team to have a look into that. But yeah, no, they will feature soon. Oh, and before we go, I do remember the final thing I was going to say. For once, because we've recorded this sort of fairly early, well, in the afternoon my time. So thank you one for being on the show, but also two for doing it so early your side. I'm actually recording this before I've eaten today. So normally I record these after I've eaten, and I get so hungry all over again. But now I can go out in a couple of hours. I'll have my own meal. So yeah, it's not too bad.
There you go.
Yeah. So for me, catch me casting views across all social media platforms, across all podcast plays. If you want to be on this episode, or you've got ideas for any of the main episodes, or you just want to say hi, drop me a line either on social media or castingviewspod@gmail.com, and I'll see you next week.
1, 2, 3, 4. If I want your opinion, I will give it to you. Come on, take what we got, 'cause you